Everybody keeps asking, can he change? I get it. You want to know if you're in an abusive relationship, can he change? Is he a narcissist? Is he not a narcissist? What's the problem? Why does he treat me this way? A much better question to ask is, has he changed? Anyone can change temporarily, can just have some different behavior for a period of time, but does it last? Now, an even better question is, what is this costing you? What is the impact of being in an abusive relationship and begging a man to change? What does that cost you? My name is Lisa Sonni. I'm a certified relationship coach. I'm an expert in toxic and abusive relationships. I have written multiple books on this topic. I travel the world internationally speaking on abuse, narcissism, and relationship dynamics. And despite all the work I've done in the field of talking about narcissism, you know what doesn't matter? Narcissism. Because abusiveness doesn't require a diagnosis. And honestly, narcissism is a personality trait, and narcissistic personality disorder is a disorder. And even within the disorder, it's a spectrum. When someone is so narcissistic that it becomes pathological, they may meet the criteria to be diagnosed. But what do we know about narcissists? They don't think anything's wrong with them, so they don't go get diagnosed. So whether he's an abuser or a narcissist or something in between, you may never know. You may never have the label of what is really going on with him. And the truth is, I'll tell you what a friend once told me, maybe he's nothing. Maybe he's just an asshole. The label doesn't matter as much as the pattern and the impact. So let's take a step back and actually look at, can these types of men change? Now, one of the things that you just got to accept is that abuse benefits men. When they are abusive and they can condition you and coerce you into whatever it is that you're doing for them, they benefit. So when we ask an abusive man to stop being abusive, you are also saying, give up all of the benefits, give up what you gain from behaving this way. Now, people will always say, what do you mean gain? How could he be benefiting? Why is this a good thing for him? Abusers love to control. They love to be dominant. They want power over you. And so this gives them that. Abuse gives them power and control. Well, what kind of person wants power and control? An abuser. So we just keep going in circles. You have to accept that this is what they want. You want happiness and peace. And I know that they say that that's what they want, but what gives them arguably happiness and peace is controlling you. They get access to you. They get compliance. They get labor. They get meals. They get sex. They get power. And of course, their most favorite thing, abusive men hate accountability. That's why every little tactic that they use allows them to avoid that very thing. Blame shifting is their number one tactic to get away from accountability, all while screaming, women never take accountability, because what they want is for you to take accountability for not being the best woman you could be for them, which only provokes them into being abusive. Because if you would just be submissive, then I wouldn't have to be abusive to make you submissive, right? Do you see how that's completely your own fault? I mean, if you're using the logic of an abusive man, of course. If every time he feels uncomfortable or unhappy, he can just say or do something overtly or covertly that gets you to run around and fix it for him, why would he ever stop this? Why would he give up a system that benefits him? And I know so many women think, well, what do you mean? Because he loves me. Yeah, he tells you he loves you. Does this feel like love? Does all of the abuse inflicted upon you feel like love? Or it only feels like love in the moments that he's being loving? So then you might ask yourself, I wonder if in the moments he's being loving, he's actually just pretending to be loving so that I keep staying. Because those moments, right, that intermittent kindness, it resets the whole cycle. If he was abusive 24/7, you would leave. That's a fact. Nobody would stay in an abusive relationship that is just abuse 24/7. There are always moments of kindness. And for those who say, hey, I don't actually see any kindness, the absence of abuse sometimes, it still gives you that feeling of kindness. You know, things haven't been so bad lately. Yeah, he hasn't screamed at you in 2 whole weeks. Good job. The truth is that most of these abusive men don't change because they don't think that they need to. You've explained it. And the thing is, they argue back, right? Why are you mad at that? This makes no sense. I don't understand why you feel this way. He doesn't have to understand. He doesn't even have to agree. He just has to understand and see and care. And that's the key part, that you do feel this way. He has to care. If he cared, he would change it. In his mind, You are the problem. And in fact, I once heard this from Dr. Peter Salerno in a video we made. And honestly, it was so simple and so profound, but I actually love the simplicity of it. You know, when you explain to him that he's hurting your feelings, when you explain to him what hurts you and why it hurts you, and he's like, oh my God, here we go again. Why do you keep bringing this up? Why are you always bringing up old shit? God, you never get over anything. Nothing I ever do is good enough for you. You know that whole speech that we've all heard? Please understand something. He means every word that he just said. Dr. Salerno really identified that so often, especially with someone who is a narcissist or highly narcissistic, what the problem is for them is that you keep talking. If you would just stop talking, stop your whining, stop complaining, there would be no problem. Now, to anyone with a brain, that's just sweeping the problems under the rug. But under the rug is nice and quiet. And he likes that. That's where he wants it. If you have problems, keep them to yourself because they're not his problems. They're your problems. The problem is, in fact, that you're talking about this fictitious problem that would evaporate if you just stopped talking. Now, tell me if that man loves you based on what I just said. A man like this will make your reaction the biggest problem in the relationship. You keep bringing this up. You keep getting mad. If you would just not be mad, if you would just shut off your feelings and be a robot, we wouldn't even be having this issue. And he's absolutely right. You wouldn't. If you would just shut up and comply, everything would be great for him. Now, this question, can he change? As I said, it's the wrong question. Will he change is a much better way to actually look at this. You've asked for change and he's not changing, or you've asked for change and he's pretending to change, right? People always say abusive men or narcissists, they never go to therapy. That might have been true when therapy wasn't trendy. Therapy is popular now, right? Everybody's my therapist this and I have a therapist. Great. So an abusive man, a narcissist even, will go to therapy and they will pretend to change and they will learn language that they can now weaponize against you and say that he has boundaries around doing the dishes. But at the end of the day, change actually requires willingness, and true, real, authentic change. It requires a person to be self-motivated. You have to want to be different. Change is so unbelievably hard for anyone. You have to want to do it. It would be the same thing like learning a new language or going back to school as an adult. It takes self-reflection and accountability. And circling back here, accountability is the last thing that an abusive man wants to take. For him to change, he would have to spend 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years going to regular therapy, reading books like The Will to Change or For the Love of Men, learning from feminist creators, dismantling his own misogynistic views of women. He'd have to tolerate shame without immediately just shutting down and flipping everything onto you. Real change would look like sustained, changed behavior, even when nobody's looking. Right? He's not, hey, look, I'm reading. Hey, look at me. I'm in therapy now. No, he would just be quietly doing the work, showing up differently. And if he makes mistakes along the way, right? If he snaps at you or falls back into an old pattern and you call him out on it, he'd be like, you're right. You're right. Let me process that. Let me think about that. Or I'm sorry, and actually mean it and change the behavior. You know that he's not willing because he's not doing the work. This really isn't about what he says, right? We always talk about actions versus words. Yes, actions, but this is where women can get tripped up because sometimes they are taking the actions, but does it sustain? Does it last? Is it consistent? What's consistency? 6 months, 12 months, a long period of time. 6 months is quite short. 6 months, you can start to be like, okay, we've passed the first hump here. Let's see. If someone can change for a year and start really showing up really differently and taking accountability and apologizing and doing the work, and you're seeing things and he's discussing how he's changing and what he's changing with you, maybe then you can start to settle and let your guard down a little bit. We often see these guys as like, I don't know, having a broken brain or something, right? Like something's just wrong with him. We blame a million things. It's attachment. It's his mom, which I hate that one the most, blaming women for the choices that abusive men are making. We blame trauma. We blame drinking. We blame his ex-girlfriend, yet again, blaming women for what men do, instead of just looking at the fact that his mind is very clearly organized around entitlement and superiority. Studies have shown that men are far more likely to externalize blame. women, when they have something going wrong in their lives, they are far more likely to be like, what did I do? How does this impact me? What can I do to make this different? Men are far more likely to be like, something's happening in my life. Who did this to me? Who can I blame? What happened outside of himself? But this is a very clear self-protection of his image at all costs, at your expense. And this is why someone like this, even while he's allegedly changing, but especially if he's not, he'll minimize everything that he's doing. He'll deflect, he'll gaslight, he'll blame you, and he'll counter accuse you of anything, right? A little bit projection, of course, right? Things that he's doing, he accuses you of, but that's not always what they're doing. He just can't tolerate seeing himself as harmful, because if he's harmful, he's bad. And if he's bad, that's a problem. It can't be him. This is the most major way that they are avoiding accountability, is just by making you the problem. And what you really need to see is that he is protecting his ego above the relationship. I remember years ago in a leadership certification program, we were talking about conflict management. And in a class where we were talking about resolution, if you look at the various ways that people can actually solve conflict, like collaboration or compromise, whatever, if you look at these ways, you can see that in something like collaboration, the value of the relationship is high, so you care to solve the problem together. Well, an abuser doesn't give a crap about the relationship. They care about their ego. And so their method of conflict resolution is yelling and blaming and just being the authority. And what matters to them is being right, not what's healthy for the relationship. So when an abusive man is behaving this way, this is a crystal clear sign that he is not actually going to change. Now, what real change actually looks like, as I said, is consistency over time. When stress happens, when something happens in real life, because that's normal, right? Something comes up, he has a bad day, he's not taking it out on you. Now, he might say, I'm feeling really stressed out, I feel some anger happening, I'm going to go be by myself for 15 minutes. He might sit in the car for 15 minutes. He might go to the bedroom for a few minutes and take a breath. He will do what he needs to do to regulate himself, not put it on you. He would take responsibility. He would stop blaming you. He'd stop blaming his family and his trauma. He would stop looking for anything outside of himself and just say, you're right, I'll do better. And if you have conflict, because that's normal in any relationship, he would be respectful during that conflict. He wouldn't be snapping at you and rude and name calling and minimizing and all the things that prove he's an abuser. The more time that you spend asking yourself, can he change? And why does he do that? And why is he treating me this way? The less time you're spending on the impact on you. What is it costing you? What happens to you when you stay in a relationship that is sucking the life out of you? Yeah, it hurts your feelings. It also destroys your identity, destroys your self-worth, costs you loving yourself, costs you friendships, costs you your own self-respect. People who stay in abusive relationships have all kinds of issues: depression, anxiety, mysterious autoimmune diseases. The list goes on. Read The Body Keeps Score. Stop asking, can he change? And start asking what this is doing to you. If you need help leaving a man like this, if you need help sorting through your feelings and feeling strong enough to actually do it, you can work with me one-on-one, or you can join any of my group coaching programs. I have one that is called Trauma Bond Recovery that helps people who feel deeply attached to an abusive man process their feelings, resolve cognitive dissonance, create detachment, and build the skills that will actually help you manage the anxiety and withdrawal that come from leaving a man like this. My other group coaching program is called Rise and Rebuild, and that program is geared towards women who want to rebuild their identity, love themselves, know who they are, step into their power, and build an incredible life for themselves. Both of these coaching programs are over 12 weeks with just 8 to 10 women, so there's very few spots available. The link is in the description to join or learn more about either of these programs. An abusive man is always going to try to convince you that he's just on the cusp of changing. He's always going to dangle this little carrot in front of you, so you always feel like you're just one step away from him finally getting it all. But that is a false promise. A man like this is either going to change or he isn't. How much more time are you willing to invest hoping and wishing and doing and over-functioning? If you're ready to stop all of this, I encourage you to work with me or join my programs. Hit subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.